Hello and welcome to my channel. This is another card design that I created for Christmas 2017. This card was for my daughters, and I've actually made this video after Christmas. Today's date, in fact, is January 3rd. I wanted to show you this video because I go over a few techniques which I think will be useful to you in your card making, and you may find it fun. This kitty cat I've used in an earlier design, but now I'm bringing in the puppy also. Also, you may notice a little bit differences in the lighting for this video. Santa brought me some new lighting for my videos, and I'm still trying to get the kinks worked out of how to set the lights up to get shadows sorted out. Like, there's a shadow on the kitty side but not on puppy side, and there's a little glare coming in, but my little friend of the shadow up the center of the video is no longer going to be here. Yay, so glad to see that go. So please bear with me while I work this out. This whole photography thing is new to me, but I'm working on it. Okay, let me move this out of the way and show you the materials and the techniques for this card. In addition to the papers, I need the following inks. I have these Memento inks, Gray Flannel, Summer Sky, Morroco, and Tangelo. Also, I'm using the Vintage Photo Distress ink and my Versafine Onyx Black. I'm using the following stamp sets. I have Fluffy Stockings with Dies by Hero Arts, and it has matching dies to cut these little guys out. I have the Spellbinders A2 Matting Basics B, and I have the Spellbinders Wrought Iron Fence. I'm also using two stamp sets from the Close to My Heart Camping Out stamp set, which has a lot of figures and pictures that you would see camping. It has like a tent, a coffee pot, hot dogs, stuff like that. I'm also going to be using the Wink of Stella brush. I have green and red, and the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen. Alright, I think that's everything. I also am going to need a little bit of multimedia matte or any kind of glue, and some gold brads, and perfect pearls. I'm going to be using the gold perfect pearls. Alright, let me move these things out of the way and get right into how to go through the techniques of making this card. The first thing I'm going to do is make the wrought iron grating here, and I have this wrought iron die set which makes a wrought iron fence, but I don't need all of that much. I have this gray paper, and I want it to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to take and press the stamp pad directly onto this cardstock and make it a little bit darker. Okay, that should be enough. Don't want it to be as dark as black, but I just need it to be darker. Now I'm going to take the perfect pearls, and I'm just going to rub it right into this. You just need a little bit. Just want it to be just a little bit sparkly. And any bits you don't use, you can just put it right back into the container, but I'm using just a little bit anyway, so I'm not going to bother with it. Okay, so that's how you do perfect pearls. It's very easy. It's a little sparkly mess all over the place though, but there you go. So now it looks metallic. Okay, move this aside. And in order to get the perfect pearls to set, you just need to spray it a little bit with some water, or you could spray it with a fixative. So I have a water bottle, Tim Holtz Mister, and I'm just going to take it off camera and just spray the air and just rub it through a little bit. And then this will make the perfect pearls stay onto the paper. Hopefully. So you just mist the air and just run it through. Okay, now leave that set to dry for a moment. Clean this up in case I got any on here. This is just a Swiffer that I use for glittering and stuff like that. So I have my Big Shot set up off camera, so I'm going to just run this through with my magnetic plate, and I'm also using my precision base plate. So I'm just going to run the sandwich through like this, and I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm taking my pokey tool, and to free this die from the extra paper, you just poke out all the little extra bits, and it'll just fall right out. And because I used the precision base plate, it should come out a lot easier than if I hadn't, but because it has all these little twirly bits, it's a little bit tricky. So I'm going to pull this closer off camera and pull it out. Okay, now I have the wrought iron fence. Okay, alright, now I'll get all this stuff out of the way into the trash. Now the next thing I want to do while I still have my Big Shot here is to work on the fireplace. So I need a paper back for this, and I will take the distress ink. Let me flip this over so I don't get sparkly all over the place. And there's two sides to an embossing folder. One is the deboss side and one is the emboss side. This is the side that will press the bricks. So I want to take the side that has the mortar, the lines which are raised, and I'm going to take the vintage photo and rub it all over the embossing folder. This does not hurt this at all. This washes right off with water, and you can use inks to color your embossing folders just like I'm showing now. So now I have the brick pattern, the mortar, and I will carefully take the red paper and put it in straight as I can, because I don't want it to get crooked mortar lines all over the place. And close it. Okay, I'm going to just run this through the Big Shot. I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm going to carefully take it out. And you see now I have a dark areas where the mortar is. The ink transferred to the flat areas. It looks very much realistic, like a brick wall. Okay, I have to just clean this up, just run it under clear water, and the ink will just come right off. Doesn't harm it at all, just leave it sitting to dry. Okay, let me clear these things away and we'll move on to the next step. Also, I forgot to mention I need an extra piece of white cardstock. This is 3 3/4 by 5. So I'm going to now stamp the fire. In order to do that, I need to use a stamp positioning tool, and I'm going to be using the Stamp-O-Ma-Jig. How this works is you have this film here which you nestle in the corner of the handle, and you take your stamp and nestle that right in the bin and stamp straight down and straight up, and puts an impression of the stamp exactly where it's placed onto this tool. And then you take it and put it where you want it to be on your paper. Make sure it's straight and it's relatively centered, and bring the handle back in place, and holding down the paper, slide this out and bring the ink in and stamp it up really good. And push it straight down and straight up. Okay, I'll clean that later. Except, look what I just did. Oh my goodness. Don't worry about that, people. Okay, move that out of the way. And that was a learning moment. Why we clean our stamp, so that you don't do what I just did and drop it right on my card base. Okay, now I'm bringing in the fire, and I'm lining it up on the logs where I want it to be. And I'm bringing in the 2 oranges, and I'm going to stamp all over with the Tangelo. Move that out the way. Straighten that a little bit. Okay. Put that down so I can use my hand. Okay. Now I'm holding the paper steady so it doesn't move. And straight down and straight up. Okay. Now I'm going to take the Morroco. I'm not cleaning the stamp yet because this is darker. And I'm just going to go all over with the Morroco. And I'm going to take a piece of clean paper towel and wipe away some of the Morroco because I don't want it to be all over. I just want to highlight the flames. So I'm not being really careful here. And bring this back in because again I don't want it to move. Alright, and that's good. And straight down and straight up. And this adds an ombre effect to the flame. And if I wanted to, I could also pick up a little bit of this here brown at the base. Bring this back in again. And add a little bit of darkness at the base. Now I'm going to clean it because I have learned my lesson. And I clean this too. See, I dropped it. Okay. Alright, so that's how you use the Stamp-O-Majig. Okay, moving on. Now I'm going to stamp the words a little bit later. But now I'm going to move on to the watercoloring aspect, which is get the little stars of this card, the kitten and the dog. So I've already put the stamps on my Misty tool, which is another stamp positioning tool. And I'm just going to make sure that's right, yes, and stamp this in black. And I want it to be really dark, so I'm going to give it 2 stamps. Okay, that's 1. Okay, clean this real quick. And this is Bristol Smooth watercolor paper, but any watercolor paper will do. And I have some watercolor pencils. So I'm just going to do very easy watercoloring on this. I'm going to show you on this stocking. You go all over with the green. In this case, you could do this with several shades of green, but since this is such a small area, I can show you how to do it with just the one color. So I've gone all over, and now I'm going to go from the edges, and I'm going to increase the pressure of the pencil to give a little bit darker impression. And this is how I will get my shading. Okay. All right. Now I have my aqua pen, which has water in it. I'll get the water going. And I need that paper towel again. Okay, there we go. Okay, I just got the water going. And you just go over it lightly with the water. And the blending will happen naturally and you will get a nice highlight in the center. If you have too much water, just wipe it off on the clean paper towel and just keep going. There. So I'm going to do the rest of the watercoloring, but I'm going to speed that up. Okay, now I just need to take the die cuts and cut them out. So there's one for the cat and one for the dog. So I'll just line this up and run it through my Big Shot. I'll be right back. Okay, now we have the cat and the dog. Now the last of the die cutting that I need is the actual fireplace. So I'll take this rectangle and center it in here. I want to leave at least 3 bricks to the top, so I'll just make sure that I have it centered and run this to the die cut machine. Okay, now I have this. Now I'm going to use this in another card. You know me, don't waste. And I need to trim this part off because I don't need it, so I'll do that with just a pair of scissors. I don't need to be exact because this part will be hidden. Okay. Now the rest of the card is going to be just assembling everything, so I'm just going to let the music run and put the card together before you. Do a little bit of cleanup first. And I almost forgot I need a new card base since I messed that one up. Okay. Alright, here we go. Okay, that's the finished card, and it went together really quickly. I made one little mistake here, and I frequently do that. I don't know what is with me, but I needed to put the brads onto the front panel before it is taped down to the card. But I caught it in time, and I was able to use my embossing buddy to take off the adhesive so that I could deal with it without it being all sticky. I also decided to take the wrought iron fence all the way across this fireplace, whereas this one is just spotlighting. I would like to hear from you in your comment section which one you think looks better, with the short fireplace grate or the large fireplace grate. I like them both. So that's it. I hope you'll try this yourself. Definitely try to experiment with the coloring over your embossing dies. You can get some really unique effects by doing that, and as I said, it doesn't hurt it just rinses off with water. Of course, you would not want to do this with permanent ink like StazOn, because that will stain forever. Okay, that's the finished card. I'd like to thank my brother for the music that he's providing for my channel, and I'd like to thank you again for your subscriptions to my channel. Please pass the word. I really appreciate all the comments. And I would also like to mention that now that the new year is starting, I'm going to temporarily suspend my Freebie Fridays for now, but I'll be back with it soon. And next I'm going to be starting into my Valentine's Day series, and I hope you'll join me for that. I have some really interesting ideas that I want to bring to you and share some techniques with you. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope that you had a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year starts out for you. Take care.